Do we need to insert a compressor on every audio channel, on every sound source? And how do we decide if one is needed or not? In this video I will show you some tips on how you can easily detect if one is needed or not, and if no one is needed, just leave it. Plain as fuck. Let's discuss. Hey friends, Silvano here from ruffinstudio.com. Today I want to share a few thoughts. One crucial thought, how to think about compression or a compressor at all, and how we easily can detect if a compressor is needed or not. And let's jump in. So the first thought I have is actually the mindset about the compressor, right? So I like to think about the compressor like it's an automated volume fader, right? It's in essence it's just an automated volume fader, nothing else, because it has some more settings like threshold, ratio, release, attack, how fast it reacts, right, and makeup gain, and mix knob, dry wet. But in essence, if we break it really down, it's just a volume fader, and this really helped me a lot about compression, just thinking that it's basically just a volume fader. So if you think about compression in history, one was created or invented in the 1937. If you think about recordings back then, right? If there was a trumpet player or whatever and was playing his notes and they were recording, there has to be a guy standing there at the mixing desk and turn down the volume every time that the trumpet gets too loud, right? So he just needs to turn down and turn up when it was too quiet, and I think this is a quite daunting task, to be honest. But if you think about this in background, as a background, and remind us and translate this thought process into the modern world of plugins and compressors, I think this really can help us to better understand compression and actually know when and where we should insert the compressor, because oftentimes I found myself also just opening an old project and thinking, man, why did I insert the compressor here? Maybe it's not even needed, right? Just for the sake of it. Sometimes we just put on it without any thought behind it and without any reason. Okay, first I wanted to show you a little audio example. This is a arpeggio kind of bass line, and it has some quieter notes and also some louder notes, right? So if we listen to this, especially this one, those are the louder notes, right? The quieter ones. And if we now compress this, all what the compressor does is lifting the quieter notes and bringing the louder notes down, right? So we lift the quieter notes and we bring the louder notes down. So, because the definition of dynamic range is the difference between the quietest and the loudest part. So now you should be able to hear that those louder notes don't stick out as much as they did without compression, right? And now I already rendered this. It's not exact the same volume, but just for the purpose of showing you this, here are the louder notes. This one is a louder note, and compared to the compressed rendered audio file here, we can see it brought it down, and also it brought up the quieter part, sorry. Those 3 notes here especially. So it's more even sounding. Now, if we go back to the example of thinking about compression like it's an automated volume fader, of course we can just say, yeah man, I don't want to use a compressor. Instead I just do this, right? Every time the louder note is hitting, we could just second thought is actually that the audio file is telling us where we need a compressor. I got this from a mixing book. I know it's a stupid idea to learn audio from a book, right? What it said is every time you find yourself reaching for the fader, that the file is telling you that this is the indicator that we should insert a compressor, right? So especially on pads, right? There, if we just close our eyes and listen through the whole track, do some critical listening, and then we found ourselves, oh, this pad is getting pretty loud, to a section. On another section it drops really hard, and you want to reach that fader again and pull it up. That's the exact indicator that you should insert a compressor on this pad. So let's say I have this pad part, synth part. I know it's not the best thing, I know, but I turn it down now, and I think, yeah man, it's too quiet, right? Now I turn it up a little bit, like this, but now I have the feeling, yeah, you know, it's always a little bit. Now if I listen now, I want to turn it down again, right? So I found, yeah, let's turn it down a little bit, but still it doesn't feel right to me, to my ear. And if I found yourself constantly tweaking a fader up and down, this is the single one indicator that you should insert a compressor. And again, just those crucial thoughts. Number one is think of the compressor that it's just an automated volume fader. And number two, if you find yourself constantly tweaking that volume fader, this is the best indicator to insert the compressor. Let's just, for the fun part, let's insert the compressor and see if we can get it on a more constant level. I have the feeling we're controlling that synth part a little bit better. The louder notes don't stick out as much as before. Without. It's not perfect, probably, and I know it's a shitty synth part, but still a good example, I guess, because yeah, I have the feeling with the compressor, the synth part sits better into this whole loop. And by the way, a little real world example that happened to me a few weeks ago. So I got the trial from Deezer. It's the same like Spotify, and they have the loudness normalization function there. So what it does is it brings all tracks to the same loudness, right? And somehow I forgot to turn it on. I don't know why, but then I was driving around with my car, I was sitting there and listening to music. So I was listening to one track, then another came up and the volume jumped up. So I needed to reach that the knob on the radio and turn it down again. Then another track, as you can imagine, popped up. Again, a little volume jump, I needed to turn again, and so on, right? And the same exact thing applies to compression. Whenever you found yourself tweaking the fader now and then to adjust the volume, this is a great indicator that you can insert a compressor on that channel. With the first two tips or thoughts, whatever you want to like them, is we control the dynamics and the volumes of a sound source. And the third thought is that we should ask ourselves what we want to achieve. So in the first two examples, we wanted to achieve to controlling the volume, to have the sound source sitting better into the whole track or loop, whatever, in the arrangement. But there are some other stuff that we may want to achieve with compression. So for example, we want to reach more loudness. Maybe we want to control only the side channel. Maybe we have an atmospheric sound, a texture sound, that is a sound bed somehow moving in the background, and it got some peaks now and then, but you can hear it only on the sides. So this maybe is an indicator that you should use some mid-side compression, only compressing the sides, right? And then there are different types of compressors: tube, VCA, fat compressors, opto, whatever is out there. And not every compressor serves the best for the certain audio file. As you can see, for example, on the synth part, on pads and stuff, I like to use the variable mu, which is a tube compressor. But in conclusion, just think about compressor first. It's a volume controller, automated volume fader. And second, the audio file is telling you where you should insert the compressor. I mean, if there are no chums, why should you insert a compressor? Yes, maybe you want to address something else. Maybe you want to create a little bit more space, or give it a little bit warmth to it, just compressing a little bit. Or maybe on the drum bus you want to glue something together, or you want to glue a synth group together. And that serves the point number 3, which is we need to know what we want to achieve with the compressor, right? Just to sum it up again, number 1, think of a compressor like it's an automated volume fader. Then number 2, the audio file is actually telling you if there's a compressor needed with some peaks, some lower parts. And third, you need to know what you want to achieve with the compressor. I hope this helps a little bit to better understand where and why to insert a compressor. And it's also totally fine if you don't insert a compressor. I mean, why should you, right? Sometimes I find myself just EQing a little bit, taking out some nasty frequencies, and then it just sounds right. So yeah, 2 things. Number 1, next time you find yourself in a project, in a mixdown of one of your tracks, and found yourself using that fader, wanting to reach that fader, to adjust the volume, use a compressor. Great indicator to use a compressor. And second, if you struggle to get the low end right, the kick and the bass, then probably you should download my free 7-step low end checklist. It's packed with all techniques, even a frequency chart, where to boost, where to cut, 2 or 3 tools, how you can shape your critical listening, so you actually hear those peaks and lower notes and whatever. Yeah, and it's a step-by-step guide. It's quite a long file, but it also can serve you as a reference file, so whenever you're stuck with mixing low end, getting that kick and bass right, just open up the PDF and find the point where you need help with, and hopefully it will help you. Yeah, just download it in the comment section or in the description, and I hope this little tutorial helped you. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps and sparks some inspiration. Take action as always, don't just watch those videos, and thanks for watching, thanks for your time, cheers.